Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sound was a brutal, mechanical heartbeat echoing through the sacred canyons of the Arizonan mesa. It wasn't the sound of nature. It was the sound of ending. Alara, a girl of 16 with eyes the color of dark earth and a spirit as untamed as the land itself, flattened her body against the sun-baked clay, her fingers digging into the earth. Below, in the swirling ochre dust, her world was being dismantled. The Bureau of Land Management contractors, looking like tiny determined ants from her vantage point, were driving the herd. But these weren't just animals to Alara and her Hopi community. They were the spirit herd of the Red Mesa, hooves stained with the very clay of their ancestors. And the lead mare? Gods, the lead mare! She was a vision of storm and lightning, a dappled gray with a mane like rolling mist and eyes that held the ancient knowledge of the desert. This was Kaya, named for the eldest stone on the mesa, a direct descendant of the legendary matriarch Sihu, who had, according to family lore, led the people to water during the Great Dying a century and a half ago. Ooh, hold on, Alara whispered, her voice stolen by the wind. Just hold on. But how could they? The helicopters, those iron vultures, dove and harassed, their noise a physical assault. The horses, a river of muscle and terror, were funneled toward the steel-paneled corrals. Their freedom, a birthright, was being stolen in the name of resource management and water rights. Alara's phone vibrated insistently in her pocket. A text from her cousin Ben. "Alara, where are you? Your mom is freaking out. You're going to get suspended." She ignored it. School, suspension, it all felt so trivial, so absurdly small, while a piece of her soul was being captured below. Her grandfather, Thomas, had explained the real truth. They say the horses drain the aquifer, but who built the new golf resort in the valley? Who pumps thousands of gallons for their green grass? It is not about conservation. It is about who profits from the water. As Alara watched, her heart seized. A young, spindly-legged foal, exhausted and terrified, stumbled and fell. Its mother, a brave bay, immediately wheeled around, placing her own body between her baby and the deafening machine. And then Kaya did the same. The great gray mare moved not with panic, but with purpose, positioning herself as a living shield for the mother and foal. She stood her ground, her head high, and let out a scream that was not of fear, but of pure, unadulterated defiance. It was a sound that cut through the mechanical roar, a primal challenge. And then she turned her head. Her gaze, intelligent and fierce, swept the mesa ridge and landed directly on Alara. Woo! A jolt like lightning passed between them. It wasn't just Alara seeing a horse. It was a recognition, a spark of shared understanding leaping across the canyon. In that moment, Alara knew. This wasn't just a roundup. It was a kidnapping, and she had just been called as a witness. No, she breathed. The word a promise. No, I won't let them. The ride back to the reservation on her old dirt bike was a blur of dust and determination. Alara found her grandmother, Alma, not on the porch, but in the hogan, the traditional circular home, grinding blue corn with a stone metati. The rhythm was steady, ancient. Alma was the keeper of the stories, a woman whose face was a map of a life lived in harmony and hardship. Her hair, a long silver braid, shone in the dim light. "Grandmother," Alara said, her voice trembling as she stepped inside, the scent of sage and earth enveloping her. Alma did not look up. You were at the mesa. It was not a question. I saw her grandmother. I saw Kaya, the daughter of Sihu. She looked at me. Alma's hand stilled. The only sound was the crackle of the small fire. Slowly, she lifted her head. Her eyes dark and deep as a night sky held Alara's. Tell me. The story tumbled out. The helicopters, the fear, the foal, and the defiant, knowing gaze of the gray mare. They're taking them to the government pens in Utah. Some will be adopted, but most, they'll just live and die in a cage. We have to do something. Alma sighed, a sound like the wind moving through dry grasses. I know, Shadiji. My daughter, your mother, she works 2 jobs to keep food here. She believes in working within their system. This is a different fight. It's not a fight with their laws, Alara insisted, her fists clenching. It's a fight with the truth that these horses are our family. See who saved our people. How can we not save her children? A faint, sad smile touched Alma's lips. My mother, she began, her voice taking on the rhythmic cadence of storytelling. She was the last true horse speaker. She could stand on the mesa at dawn, sing the coming of sun song, and the horses would come from miles around, not out of fear, but out of kinship. People called it magic. Puh! It was not magic. It was listening. It was remembering that we are all made from the same clay and breath. She looked intently at Alara. Perhaps Kaya is not waiting for you to save her. Perhaps the spirits have sent her to save us, to remind us who we are before we forget completely. The resolute solidified in Alara's chest, hard and clear. Then I have to try. I have to go to the holding facility. I have to show them. Alma studied her for a long, silent moment. Then she nodded once, a slow, grave gesture. Then you will not go empty-handed. She reached into a leather pouch at her waist and pulled out a small, intricately woven bracelet of horsehair, bleached white and black. This was braided from Sihu's mane. It holds her spirit. It holds the old way. Wear it and listen, Alara, not with your ears, but with your heart. The office of Regional Director Isabella Rossi was a world away from the dusty mesa. It was all cool air conditioning, polished glass, and the faint smell of coffee. Miss Rossi was a sharp, elegant woman in her 50s, her expression one of weary patience. Ilara, with Ben by her side for moral support, told her story. She showed the video on her phone, the roundup, the defiant stare, and the incredible formation of the horses at Steel Canyon. This is remarkable, Ilara, Rossi admitted, steepling her fingers. Truly. But the law is the law. The rangeland is overgrazed. The water table is falling. What if there was another way? Ilara pleaded, launching into the plan she and Alma had sketched out. The tribe can manage the herd. We can use PZP birth control darts. We can rotate grazing areas, just like our ancestors did. We don't want to stop management. We want to be part of it. Give us a chance, a pilot program. Rossi was silent, considering. She was a pragmatist, but the video had clearly shaken her. I can delay the transport for 48 hours, but I can't stop it. That authority lies with the Deputy Director of Operations in Washington, a man named Robert Sterling, and he is not known for his sentimentality. As if on cue, her phone rang. She looked at the caller ID and her face tightened. Speak of the devil. She put the call on speaker. Director Sterling? Rossi. A crisp, authoritative voice filled the room. I'm getting reports of a standoff at the Arizona Roundup. Some nonsense about a horse cult and a teenage girl. Get those animals loaded and shipped. Today. Sir, with all due respect, Rossi said, her voice tight. We have a unique situation here involving significant tribal cultural claims. I recommend— Cultural claims? Sterling interrupted, his voice dripping with disdain. They're feral equines, Rossi, not historical artifacts. I'm on a plane tonight. This operation will proceed as planned with or without your cooperation. Is that understood? The line went dead. The room was silent. Ilara's heart sank like a stone. Oh no. They had run out of time. The next morning, Steel Canyon was a hive of tense activity. Massive livestock trailers were lined up, their ramps down like hungry mouths. Robert Sterling had arrived, a man in an expensive suit that looked utterly alien in the desert dust. He exuded an aura of impatient authority. He commanded, "Load them," not even looking at Ilara or the small crowd of tribal members who had gathered, including a stoic Alma. The contractors moved in, but the horses in Kaya's pen once again closed ranks. Mitch and the others tried to gently separate them, but it was like trying to part a river with their hands. Then Kaya acted. She pushed her way through her herd and walked, alone and proud, directly to the base of the loading chute. She didn't go up. She simply stood there, facing Sterling. It was a silent, powerful ultimatum. You want me? Come and get me. Sterling, irritated, strode forward. For God's sake, it's an animal. Scare it up the chute. But as he got closer, Kaya didn't flinch. She held her gaze, her own eyes blazing with an ancient intelligence that seemed to unsettle the powerful man. He stopped a few feet away, suddenly aware of the dozens of phone cameras recording him. Ilara saw her moment. She ran forward and placed herself between Sterling and Kaya. "Mr. Sterling," she said, her voice clear and carrying across the sudden silence. "You see a problem to be managed. We see a relative to be protected. For over 150 years, the spirit herd has been part of our community. Kaya's ancestor Sihu led my people to water when we were dying of thirst. She saved us. This isn't just about ecology. It's about reciprocity. It's about honoring a debt." Alma stepped forward then, her presence commanding a different kind of respect. She held out an old, faded photograph of a woman who looked just like her, standing beside a magnificent, dark-maned mare. "This is my mother and Sihu, Mr. Sterling. The stories are not just stories. They are our history, written in the land and carried in the blood of these horses. We are not asking you to abandon your duty. We are asking you to help us fulfill ours." Sterling looked at the determined girl, to the dignified elder, to the unyielding horse. He was a man trapped between a spreadsheet and a spiritual awakening. The optics were a nightmare. The moral weight was immense. Rossi spoke softly beside him. "Sir, the Hopi legal team has filed an injunction based on the Native American Graves, Protection, and Repatriation Act, arguing the horses are living cultural resources. A judge will hear it tomorrow. Forcing the load today would be a public relations disaster." Sterling's shoulders slumped almost imperceptibly. He looked at Kaya, who hadn't moved a muscle, her gaze still locked on him. He let out a long, slow breath. 48 hours, he said, the words seeming to cost him. "You have 48 hours to present a formal, viable management plan to Director Rossi and myself. If it's not approved, the shipment moves. No more delays, no more theatrics." It wasn't a victory, but it was a chance. a tiny, fragile crack in the wall of bureaucracy. As the trucks pulled away empty, Ilara walked to Paya's pen. The mayor approached the fence and gently nuzzled the horsehair bracelet on Ilara's wrist, then her face. "We have a chance, girl. We have a chance." The next 48 hours were a blur of frantic, purposeful activity. The tribal council worked through the night. Elders provided traditional knowledge of grazing patterns. Younger members, tech-savvy and determined, mapped the mesa with drones. Veterinarians consulted on the birth control program. Ilara and Alma were at the center of it all, providing the heart and soul of the proposal. They called it the Ancestors' Plan. It was a hybrid of ancient wisdom and modern science. Tribal rangers on horseback would monitor the herd's health and administer the PZP darts. Water sources would be developed and protected in specific areas to naturally draw the horses away from overgrazed zones. The tribe would also lead eco-tours, educating the public and generating revenue to fund the entire operation. It was a blueprint for coexistence. The presentation to Sterling and Rossi was held not in a sterile office, but in the tribal council hall with the elders present. Ilara, wearing her best clothes, spoke not from notes, but from her heart, finishing with Alma's story of Sihu. When she was done, the room was silent. Sterling, who had listened with a stony face, finally spoke. "It's thorough," he admitted, grudgingly. "The financials are shaky, but the ecological monitoring is sound." He looked at Alma. "Your people's connection to this land is evident." He stood up. "I am approving a 1-year pilot program for the spirit herd on 50,000 acres of the Red Mesa. You will report your findings to Director Rossi quarterly. If the range health declines, if the water situation worsens, the program is terminated immediately. No appeals." It was a qualified, cautious victory, but a victory nonetheless. The spirit herd was safe, for now. 1 year turned into 3. The Ancestors' Plan was a resounding success. The herd population stabilized. The rangeland, freed from the pressure of overpopulation, began to recover its fragile grasses. The eco-tours became a popular, sustainable source of income for the reservation. Ilara, now a freshman at the University of Arizona, studying ecology and indigenous studies, returned to the mesa every chance she got. She would ride out with the tribal rangers, her eyes always searching for a flash of stormy gray. And there she would be, Kaya, running with her herd, a queen on her throne of red rock and sky. Her foal, strong and healthy, galloped beside her. The hoofbeats were no longer a sound of panic, but a rhythm of continuity, of a promise kept. One evening, as the sun set, painting the mesa in impossible shades of violet and gold, Ilara stood on the ridge. Alma stood beside her, leaning on her walking stick. "You did it, Shideji," Alma said softly, her eyes reflecting the brilliant sky. "No, grandmother, Kaya did. She just chose me to listen." In the valley below, Kaya lifted her head and let out a long, ringing whinny that echoed through the canyons. It wasn't a cry of defiance anymore. It was a song of belonging, a song of home. And as the first stars pricked the darkening sky, Ilara knew that some bonds could not be broken by fences or men in suits. Some bonds were woven of spirit and story, as enduring as the ancient mesa itself, and as timeless as the whisper of the wind through the sage.